The Charlotte Ledger Podcast is a member of the Queen City Podcast Network.
This episode of the Charlotte Ledger Podcast is proudly sponsored by AC Creative Collective. Founded by sisters Amora and Avery Carter, known as AC Squared, they specialize in marketing services, strategy, and learning and development. From social media management to strategic planning, they amplify your voice and cultivate growth. AC Creative Collective provides personalized, hands-on services that empower businesses to thrive. Whether it's crafting impactful marketing strategies, managing complex projects, or launching standout training, they handle every detail so you can focus on what you do best. Learn more and book a consultation at accreativecollective.com.
Welcome to the Charlotte Ledger Podcast. I'm Steve Dunn. To find out more about the Charlotte Ledger, visit thecharlotteledger.com. I'm joined today by Brian Lee, a finance teacher at Providence Day School and a finance coach who works to empower individuals to achieve financial literacy through engaging workshops and seminars. Welcome, Brian.
Steve, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
What is financial literacy and why is it important?
One of the big misconceptions about financial literacy is about getting rich. Financial literacy really is about freedom. It's about getting control of your money, taking control of your time, your well-being. It's an empowering feeling, and that's something I want all of my students to have and all the people that I work with to have. It is for everybody. It's about freedom. For me, it's about time, freedom, and the peace of mind.
Well, what if I'm just a normal person, just makes a normal job? I don't have a lot of stocks and bonds and investments, so I don't know my own business. I'm just working. What does financial literacy mean to me, and how can I make my life better and become empowered by becoming educated in the tools that you teach?
Yeah, I'm going to get into my teacher mode right here. I think it's about having that growth mindset. Open your mind and go, man, this is for me. And I think that's one of the biggest barriers to financial freedom is oftentimes I'll run into adults who are interested in it and go, man, I'm working hard. I'm doing all the right things. And I'm over here, trying to pay bills and take care of my family. Man, I didn't major in this. Is it too late? And the time has never been better. The time to learn about financial literacy, no matter where you are in your life, it's never too early and it's never too late. The time is now. And my message is it always starts with education. So that's kind of the work that I do, is empowering people to go, hey, look, I can understand this. This isn't something that I need to major in econ or finance or business in school. This is for everybody. There's so many great resources out now. Oftentimes, many of them are free. And just kind of getting that mindset to say, hey, let me take control of this. I can do this. And a lot of times people underestimate how smart they are, how capable they are. And they kind of write themselves off and go, man, I wish I had studied this, or I wish someone had told me about this when I was younger. And I always like to say, let's do it now. Let's sit down now. Let's talk now. You got 10 minutes? Let's do it. And so I think getting that belief, that self-empowering growth mindset, that learning about finance is for everybody.
In terms of the nuts and bolts of the subject matter, it sounds like it's not advanced economics, and it sounds like it does not require advanced mathematics. It sounds like we're not talking about sort of the philosophy of money and the way that geopolitics affects the pricing of things in an abstract and academic sort of sense. It sounds like we're talking about how to make individuals' lives better by enabling their control over their own personal finances. And I wonder what are the basic things that we're talking about? When you're teaching, are you talking about budgeting or how to balance a checkbook or how to manage different kinds of debt, or all of the above?
Yeah, kind of all of the above. I mean, it's one of those things that's like, I've taught math for almost 2 decades at Providence Day. And one of the catalysts for me was like, when I was learning about finance, I was a teacher, at the teacher lunch table. And this was years ago before I started teaching finance. And all the teachers are exhausted. We're kind of like, man, what are you doing for the summer? I'm going to do some camps. I'll do some extra tutoring. And I'm sitting there going, man, I'm doing the right things. What's going on? And when I started learning about finance, I did this deep personal dive studying, getting my hands on everything I could read. I just said, this isn't that hard. And I said, wait, if these 13 and 14-year-old kids that I'm teaching can learn the quadratic formula, right? And they can graph a parabola. They're memorizing every capital in every city, every state, every country in the world in a geography class, and writing these incredible essays on Shakespeare and factoring trinomials in my class. You can understand what a Roth IRA is. They can figure out what compound interest is. And so we absolutely cover all of that in my middle school class, and we go a little deeper in the high school class. But for me, it all starts with kind of the basics, right? No need for an advanced math degree, like you said. We're talking about budgeting, automating everything, right? 50, 30, 20 budget, avoiding credit card debt, setting up an emergency fund, low cost, diverse index funds in tax deferred, tax advantaged accounts. Investing does not need to be complicated. Finance does not need to be complicated. I think one of the criticisms of the financial industry is that it's been just totally marred down by jargon, and it's overcomplicated, and people are trying to sell you stuff. And I think basic personal finance, it should be empowering, accessible, and taught to everybody, because at the core of it, it's no harder than any of the subjects that these students are taking.
It's kind of it's something you can put in place for yourself that once it is, I love the idea of automation and setting up something so it can keep running on its own. And it seems like when you think about empowerment and freedom, you're taking a mental load off yourself. Like once you have a system in place that is self-perpetuating, you can just stop worrying about that and go on to worrying about other things.
You hit it right on the head. I mean, that is hitting the nail right on the head. It's about automating your investments, automating your savings, taking that burden off your shoulders. So it's really not a stressful thing. It's more of an empowering thing. It's that freedom that we spoke about before. Absolutely. Setting up the automated payments, setting up the automated budgeting is the stress reliever, right? And that's often the opposite, right? People think finance and they're thinking stress. It's this daunting mountain to climb. But once you get your systems in place, and of course, the earlier the better, but once you get those systems in place, it's awesome, right? And oftentimes people at my workshops will ask me, well, how much time do you actually spend budgeting every day, Brian? The answer is 0, right? That's the beauty of this. That once you master this, once you understand this, and again, oftentimes really overcomplicated, but once you get these systems in place, man, it's fantastic.
Well, and this is true no matter what your situation is or what level you're at, right? Because even if whether you're doing great in retirement and you're just trying to figure out how best to handle your business efficiently, or whether you're sort of struggling under a lot of credit card debt that you kind of wish you didn't have and would like to be free from, once you get a system in place that's going to get you where you need to be through the application of time and mathematics, then you're going to be okay. And that is a mental shift that benefits people directly and immediately and helps them accomplish other important things.
Definitely. And I think, being a math teacher, we always talk about the order of operations. And so I think the realm of finance is so daunting. One of the things that adults, especially that I work with, is I don't know where to start, right? And it's kind of like the order of operations for the viewers out there.
Well, this is like, when you're doing an equation, it's like if you got to multiply something, you do that first, right? And then if you got to divide something, as you're solving an equation, the order that if you got a choice,
that's right,
between doing one thing or another thing within an equation, there's a set of rules around which one you do first. And it sounds like what you're talking about is a concept where if you've got a bunch of stuff a handful of things in your financial life that you need to accomplish, sort of what should your priorities be?
Definitely.
Which ones should you tackle first? And I imagine it's probably related to interest rates or, whatever the most important things are, what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like, for the viewers, maybe remember when they were in grade school, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS, parentheses and exponents and, multiplication, division, and adding and subtracting. And this isn't even my idea. This financial order of operations is kind of out there. Everyone's got their own version of it, but the general framework is the same, consistent throughout all of them. Whatever you see online, typically we'll start with getting that emergency fund set up, right? I think the statistic is daunting. Like half Americans don't have $1,000 cash in case something happens. And I don't know about the viewers out there and listeners. I've got kids, things break, got to have a little emergency fund. And typically that's the first one, setting up an emergency fund. Second, taking care of that credit card debt. When I talk in these workshops about investing and getting in the stock market, everyone's really excited. They want to jump right into stocks. They want to get into, Brian, I'm ready. Tell me more about this S&P 500, right? We got to tackle that credit card debt first. That credit card interest rate is so high that no matter how great you do in the stock market, you just can't beat that credit card debt.
This is one of the key things I think that probably takes that is not intuitive to people. People are thinking, I think a lot of people think that the way I get ahead is I make a good investment that pays a good return. The beauty of paying off debt, especially high interest debt, is that you know exactly what that return is. It's a negative return of your interest rate, which if it's a credit card, it's a high interest rate.
Yeah.
But the beauty of paying off debt is that return is guaranteed. You know what I mean? A stock can go up and down, but if you pay down your debt, you 100% guarantee that you're going to earn that return by eliminating that negative return that you're getting currently by holding a debt. And so it sounds like that's the sort of thing. So you start with a cash reserve. You recommend holding that in a checking account or something?
I recommend, I think one of the most slept on accounts are the high yield savings accounts. Know about these high yield savings accounts. And oftentimes I've run into people who go, well, I thought I had to save with whoever I had my checking with. I've got a lot of great financial advisor friends who agree with me that we don't really care who you check with. Big banks, they're all the same. But take advantage of these online high yield savings accounts that are offering 3 to 4% for your cash to just sit there. And I always joke with my students, my favorite type of money is free money. If you're going to give me a 3%, I'm going to take it, as opposed to 0.01% in a lot of the big banks. Not a knock on the big banks, but that's a very low return, right? And so these online banks, I think people are hesitant about them, and they're legit. They're FDIC insured. Take advantage of those. Take down that credit card debt. That's the next big step. Once you get that cash reserve and the high yield savings, park that there and start tackling that credit card debt, because I think one of the biggest myths that I see out there is, well, Brian, I'm okay because I'm making the minimum payment. You are throwing cash away. Got to tackle that. All resources point at that credit card debt and that. And once that's taken care of, now we can get to the fun part. Now we can get to the wealth building, right? Now we can talk about, okay, well, now there's so order of operations typically now really starts off with your employer taking that match. I know we had spoken earlier. Take that free money. If you're
so what you mean there is if your employer offers plan benefit, then what you ought to do is contribute at least the amount up to which the employer matches.
100%.
Yeah, because that's free money that you only get if you make that contribution to the retirement plan. And then, of course, the other beautiful thing about retirement plans is that they're tax advantage. And taxes is a whole other thing that a lot of people probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about.
Absolutely, right.
It's the way that most of us pay our taxes is sort of just automatically withdrawn from our paychecks. And maybe we settle up at the end of the year, but usually, it's not a lot of work for most people in most situations. There's not a lot to think about there. So we may not be giving credit to how important taxes are. One of the things I like to tell people is like, if you look at your pay stub, okay, you will see that for most folks, your tax bill is one of the biggest bills that you have. It is one of your biggest expenses. And so if there's anything you can do to reduce it, it's going to make a big difference.
Huge
difference. Retirement plans are a big part of that.
That's what they call that. That's how I help my students remember what the difference between gross and net pay is, because it's gross how much money you're going to pay in taxes. But yeah, no, you hit it right on the head again. It's that 401k. If your employer, for example, offers you a 5% match, oftentimes one of the most common questions I get is, well, Brian, how much should I put into my 401k? That you should put in should be the max match. Whatever they're maxing, you've got to at least take that. So if they offer 5%, you got to put in 5%. If they offer 7%, you've got to at least put in 7%. So after the 401ks, after that employer match, I love talking about HSAs and Roth IRAs. Incredible tax advantages there. Incredible tax advantages with the HSA. Those are fantastic. Those are typically the order of operations. So taking the match, signing up for a Roth IRA, participating in an HSA. And then after that, now you're talking about...
No, where's the part where I gamble on Dogecoin?
Oh, okay. So that's going to be very near
because
the end.
I'm guessing that you're teaching middle school and high school students, and they're thinking, Brian, that's cool, man. Appreciate what you're saying. You're giving me boomer advice here. You know what I mean?
100%.
Start talking to me about index funds next.
That's
and I don't want to be hearing about that. I want to be hearing about hitting the home run. And, there is an aspect of it that can be fun and maybe should be fun, right? Like, do you talk to your students about okay, swing for the fences, but just don't do it with the rent money? Do you have any
100%. Absolutely. Long-term, disciplined investing is boring. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. And I think a lot of people think stocks, they think immediate monster returns. But we absolutely talk about that. So after the order of operations, right, we talk about the 401k, the Roth, the HSA, setting up your child's 529. Okay, well now, once all those are set and you've got a little money burning the hole in your pocket and you want to try, shooting for the fences and you want to maybe pick a couple fun things and try some stock picking and stuff like that, I call it a little casino account. If you want to have a little fun, if you're okay losing that money and you want to put it in some crypto, that's fine. But just like you said, I'm not putting my retirement on it. I'm not putting the rent money in that. And so if you want to have a little fun with it, that's fine. As long as you tell yourself, hey, this is my little fun account. This is my little casino account. If I lose it, I lose it. But we're not buying back in, chasing these magical gains that we're seeing on social media. So that's the biggest thing. I think that social media is amazing for finance in terms of the reach that it's had, but it also is giving a lot of people this misconception that it's super easy to make monster returns. And that's just not how life works. There is a trade-off with long-term investing, is that it takes patience and it takes time.
We'll be right back to the conversation, but first, this episode is brought to you by AC Creative Collective. AC Creative Collective specializes in end-to-end marketing and learning and development services. They are dedicated to helping businesses and organizations streamline their operations and achieve their goals with creativity and precision. From social media strategies to workshops and brand launches, they've got you covered. Visit www.accreativecollective.com to learn more.
Well, there's a lot of people out there making their living, teaching people how to get rich quick. And I'm sure you've heard this. A lot of people have heard them say that if somebody had a method for making money in the stock market that was actually reliable, they would not be telling you on the internet. You know what I mean? They'd just be doing it. And who knows, maybe there is somebody out there who's doing it, but they're certainly not telling us, right? And so it seems as though it can be fun, though, and there is a fun aspect to it. But one of the things I notice about this conversation is that you're an educator in this field, and your charter and mission in many ways is to help people become capable in this area, to make them feel confident and better and to make their lives better. And one of the things that you say in sort of an encouraging way is that it's not that hard and you can do it. But at the same time, the society that we live in today is one in which we all have to have our job and our method of earning a living, but we also have to be investors, at least to some extent. And it sounds like your goal is to help people achieve a sort of basic competence so at least they can, set it and forget it and just enjoy life.
Education is key, right? Terminology that we've got to learn. There's a lot of jargon. And I think breaking that down into bite-sized chunks and on my website, lots of guides, lots of internet resources, 100% free. Take it.
Let me highlight this.
Sure,
you have a website. It's if you Google Brian Lee, L-I, you'll find it. But what is the website address?
bleefinancecoach.com. So if you type in Brian Lee Finance, Google it, that should pop up. And
what you got there is a handful of pages, one of which is resources. And there's a lot of online resources that you've got linked right there.
Like you said, we're over here talking and throwing out words like index fund and compound interest and order of operations of the financial steps. And it can be a lot. That's typically what happens. They get overwhelmed. Wow, this is a lot of stuff. But we're talking about really hardworking individuals that I know 100% can handle this stuff.
Yeah, there's some basic stuff and we're all capable of doing what needs to be done.
Absolutely.
It's not insurmountable.
Yeah.
You talk about taxes, and do you talk in your programs about inflation?
We do, and that's really why we really stress investing, right? Because I think one of the things oftentimes when I'm working with underrepresented groups and cultures that typically have that scarcity mindset, right? And it's not their fault. They're worried, they're hesitant of the stock market, this financial world that they've never had access to. And they should be, because the financial industry has had a very predatory past. It has not always been the kindest industry to all American citizens. And so there's a lot of cultures and a lot of communities that are like, well, I'm hoarding it in cash. And you said it right there, inflation. I mean, our cash is losing value. We've got to get our money working for us. And so,
well, that's frankly what I was getting at when I was saying that it's you sort of have to be an investor along with being whatever you are as an employee or a worker or a professional. Like you have.
We don't have a choice.
It's only because the money is if we could just save money and be okay then we probably would do that. But that's not an option.
Yeah, it's just
because of
option,
inflation.
100%. And that's what I tell teachers. And I focus a bit on teachers because I am a teacher for over 2 decades and I've got a soft spot for them. I know how much we love our job. And the fact of the matter is we could talk about teacher pay until we're blue in the face. We can't wait for that, right? We can't wait for teachers to get paid what they're worth. And that teacher pay gap, that's not going to be solved in my lifetime. We have no choice but to invest. And that's the beauty of it, though. It's accessible to us. If we can learn how to invest our money, take care of ourselves, we can do what we love and retire with dignity. And so that's what I love about this.
Well, I'm interested in the communities that you serve, right? So you serve students at
all day, every
Providence Day School. You've been at Providence Day School for over 20 years, talking to students at the middle school and the high school level about finance. But you also work with educators and underserved communities.
Yes, sir.
These are focus areas for you. And I was on my list of things to ask you about is sort of what are the unique needs or messaging for those communities? And what I'm hearing you say is with teachers, you're working with a bunch of folks who are not super high earners in their work. They're underpaid. This is a fact. Everybody's aware, and they got to deal with that. And so the tools that you're teaching are the sorts of things that can help those folks achieve freedom in their individual lives. And with underserved communities, it sounds like one of your challenges is folks who are wary of investing in general or who prefer to just save in cash and are just getting eaten up by inflation. What are other things that are unique about educators or in your initiative toward diversity and equity and inclusion? Like, what are the other sort of themes that come up as you're doing that work?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks for asking that. So, when I do with teachers and teachers of color, we're really trying to teach them that, hey, the time is now. We have got to learn about this. We have no choice but to become investors, like you said before. And I think that's the main theme with them is that it's never too early to start. So oftentimes with younger teachers, similar to my students, the themes are, well, I'll do it later, I'll start later. And the time is now. We must start. The earlier you start, the better. But also on the other end with the teachers who are veterans, 30, 40-year-old teachers, even some in the 50s, it's never too late to start. Well, Brian, and the mood is a little different in those workshops. Brian, I haven't started before, and I'm a little behind, and that's okay, right? It's never too late to start. So with the educators, it is about hope that we can stay in this profession that they're so passionate about, but we can be investors too, right? This doesn't mean that we can't have access to take advantage of your school's 403B, 401k, take advantage of the HSAs, the Roth IRAs. So these are things that we've got to just empower ourselves to feel comfortable with that, hey, even though we're teachers, even though we didn't major in finance or econ, this is for us. We can be teachers and investors at the same time. And I think that's the message, that it's for all of us and that we deserve this. And so that's really important for me from that community. I've done with different minority groups. I saw a statistic last year, the huge rise of African-American and Latino, Hispanic investors. They've become very interested. There's a huge percentage of that growing, and that's encouraging. On the other hand, right, education is still so important. A lot of those investments is often in stock picking, meme coins, get rich quick stuff. And so again, that's awesome that these communities are getting interested in investing. I think the education piece is still so important. A lot of work to be done. And the bottom line is my work is to try to encourage them to get at least interested and educated about the power of investing.
A lot to learn. Anybody can do it, but it's not going to happen on its own. And you're going to have to take some steps to do it. And we're not going to be able to cover all of it today, but we've touched on a lot of things that folks can do. And you may have already answered this question, but I wonder if there's anything in terms of like financial lives that kind of falls into that category for you, whether it's paying off credit card debt or maybe it's related to the order of operations. But maybe like one of the like less obvious things, is there some little trick that you always make sure to mention for folks to do that can make an outsized impact in their lives?
I think for me is that don't underestimate the power of time. Don't underestimate it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's participate in your 401k. Make sure that you're putting in the max match.
Seems like there's two things going on there, right? One is maxing your match right from the start when you get a new job. Number one, you're getting used to living on whatever your net pay is, Absolutely. Right? So you're sort of accustomed to your paycheck being, so you don't have to do it later and feel like you're getting a pay cut. The other thing is, I'm sure you show these charts to your students. It's like sort of the difference between somebody who starts saving like $100 a month when they're 21 years old versus somebody who starts saving $1,000 a month when they're 51 years old. You know what I mean? Like the way that the numbers add up, if you give yourself time, can really be compelling. I'll bet that's the sort of charts that like blow your students' minds.
It's like you were in my class the other day. That's literally our lesson was compound interest. And so kind of going back to your question, what's the one thing to take away? Oh my gosh, the thing that I did with my students, that's probably what I would tell them. $100, $50 a week, right? And we'll start with 50 because I know times are tight. $50 a week, that's about $200 a month. Put in the low-cost S&P 500, set it and forget it, automate it, $200 a month. And the power of showing my 14, 15-year-old students, okay, well, that's an easy couple million. They couldn't believe it. They were like, oh my God, that's millions of dollars right there. For doing what, Mr. Lee? Just you automating it. And so that's really, I think for the listeners, that's what I mean by easy. We're not trying to time the market. We're not trying to pick, oh, is now a good time to buy NVIDIA or Microsoft or Tesla. We're just buying the market, the US market. We're going to become the market. If it's averaging 10% over the last 100 years, this is awesome. And so the students go, okay, well, wow. And then we did exactly what you said, Steve. Okay, well, let's say what happens when you start at 25. Okay, well, that's still pretty good. That's still about a couple million, Mr. Lee. Okay, what happens when we bring it down to, we start at 35. Now you only have 30 years. Oh, now they're mad.
It's a lot less.
It's a lot less.
It's stark.
Yeah. And then we end what happens if you start at 45 and you invest for 20 years until 65? And it's a couple $100,000. And they're, even for the students who are not that interested in it, are blown away. And that's the big takeaway. It's never too late. But the sooner you start, the better. And that's where you can really set it and forget it. The more time you have, the more hands-off you can be with it.
Yeah, it's like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, perfect. And so that's the big takeaway. Is that it doesn't take much. Let go of the misconception that investing is for the rich.
You're from South Carolina. You're born in Boston, but grew up in South Carolina. You went to Wake Forest. Mm-hmm. And then you worked at CMS. You're a teacher in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools for a little bit, right?
1 year.
1 year. Mm-hmm. And then you started work at Providence Day, I think in 2004?
2004.
And you've been there ever since. And so you've been there, it's 2025 now. And I wonder, what, as you reflect on your own career, the past and the future, sort of, how do you see where you are now, and what do you see for yourself in the coming years?
Yeah, thanks for asking. What an honor that was to win that award with Charlotte Ledger. Life-changing award. It's just been amazing. Really excited about what's going on in the classroom right now. And I think I've taught math for over 20 years, and for the school to support me and kind of go, okay, let's build this finance program. So we've got a great department now where it's called the Ideas Department, where it's kind of a house for entrepreneurship, design, lots of engineering, computer science classes, kind of all housed under this new department. And they're letting us run with it. And so that's really exciting. We're looking at, creating new courses, expanding the finance offerings, really kind of, for me, the next phase of my career is really develop something special at Providence Day, leading the way with finance, leading the way with these entrepreneurship business courses. So it's really exciting. And to have the school fully behind us on it, it's awesome. It's a blessing to have that kind of freedom, and the community and the parental support. The student enthusiasm is at an all-time high. So we're really excited about what we're building on campus.
I think about financial education as being a gift from one generation to the next, in a way. And with you in particular, I think it's safe to say that there's hundreds or thousands of people out there in the world today who are always going to contribute the max to their employer-sponsored retirement account because they learned that from you. And that's going to make their lives tangibly better. I mean, people's lives are better because of the things that they're learning from you. And that's a gift that you have handed down. And I think about that in terms of the things that parents teach their children about saving. It's something that rewards a lifetime. And it must, surely you reflect on that and take pride in that.
I love it. Like, one of my favorite things is, oftentimes when I teach math, they're like, Mr. Lee, when am I ever going to graph a parabola? When am I going to use the Pythagorean theorem again?
Maybe never, right? Yeah, very, very possibly never, right?
But, with these eighth graders, it's never too early to start teaching them. And I love it. They can go home. I tell them, you can go home right now. Talk to your parents about today's lesson. And so when I hear these kids that are coming back as seniors and, they've been investing for years now and they're talking about it. It's not taboo. They're having conversations with their family about money. Teachers are telling me that they're having conversations about money now. It's a cool feeling. So I appreciate you asking that. That's what puts a smile on my face, and that's what gets me into the office every morning.
All right. Well, let's leave it there. Brian Lee, thank you for being together with me this morning on the Charlotte Ledger podcast.
Steve, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
That's it for today. Thanks for listening. This episode was produced by Lindsay Banks. You can find out more about the Charlotte Ledger by visiting thecharlotteledger.com.
This episode of the Charlotte Ledger podcast was sponsored by AC Creative Collective. This Charlotte-based business specializes in marketing services, strategy, and learning and development services that help businesses thrive. Check them out at www.accreativecollective.com for innovative solutions tailored to your needs.
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.